17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pingrack. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Duck and Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, the first show of the week. We had a well-deserved day off on Monday, and then yesterday things went down at Lake Tenkiller. Matthew, we're going to talk about it.
It was good. I can't believe that we have done it, though. 10 one-on-ones. And yesterday was our annual one-on-one. Now, I remember I was coming off of the big L. I went 8-0 and then decided to film it last year, and you absolutely administered a butt whooping.
Yeah.
So I took this very seriously, and all I will say is we did drastic. We never saw each other on the water. Never once during the entire day. I have no idea where he went.
No.
You have no idea where I went.
No.
I checked in on Mark just to make sure that he hadn't fallen in, and just call and say, hey, you doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good, blah, blah, blah. And it went down.
You going to tell people what happened, or are they going to have to watch?
They're going to have to watch. I'm going to work on it immediately after the show today. I'm going to try to get it out really quick. I actually downloaded the footage already. But I will say this much. Jeffrey shows up. Well, I show up to the boat room because Jeffrey's is already there because his game plan was obviously to get a topwater bite. That's why we met at 5:30 in the morning there.
Yeah.
I show up and he has 4 rods on his front deck, and they all have walking topwaters.
That's right.
You had all of them had crane swivels attached to the swivel or the O-ring, like Uncle Frank has you do. You had one that was. It was hunter orange is the only way I can describe it.
Not the bottom, though. The bottom was chartreuse and white.
It looked like a crappie bobber. Then he had a little one. He had an out-of-production Jimmy Houston Super Spook.
Yeah.
And then a saltwater one. Did you have one of Zell's tied on with the 3 hooks that he had?
No, I had the black metal chartreuse metal black.
Anyway.
Limited run.
I will say that I knew right away that it was either a really good sign for me or a really bad sign. And we both caught some fish, so you're going to have to wait to see for that to come out. I'm going to try to get it done today. I'm going to try to just knock it out, get it out of the way and done. You did a great job on the camera explaining everything, I will say, when I downloaded all of the footage, and there's a lot of footage there. So, But yeah, it's cool. It's great. And the big key is, dude, you were able to fish for 10 hours straight by yourself.
The first time since my accident, and it felt great. And I was a little sore this morning, but not too bad. And I'll say this, man, it had been... Now, I thought about it on the drive home, the 3-hour drive. It had been 10 years since I had been on Tenkiller this time of the year. Make sense?
Yeah. The summertime can be difficult.
Yeah. So I talked about it in the video. I fished a lot of history. I fished a lot of spots that I fished
Did a lot of Carolina rigging based on what I saw.
A lot of Carolina rigging.
With the butt seat.
Yeah. Did a lot of cranking. But I'll say this, Matt mentioned it. I had 4 topwaters. I went to one of the prime topwater spots that I've had this time of the year.
Don't give it away what happened, though.
Okay. I won't say nothing. It was shocking
it was vintage.
What took place. But it was great. Matt got the W, a well-deserved W.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why would you say that? I just teed it up on how we're going to put the video out so people could watch it.
People want to know now.
I teased it on my Instagram account.
They need to watch how
they could have watched it without knowing you got the W.
Or
that I got the W.
It is what it is. All right. I wanted to give you props for what you did.
Well, you could have given me props next week after it came out.
I'm all about the now, man.
You just totally ruined. There's at least 6 people that are very upset right now.
Sorry. All right. It is the method of the madness that took place yesterday that you have to watch it. All right, and I tried to fulfill the vintage people out there like myself. I did my best, and I'll say this: it was great to be on the water for that long for the first time since my accident. And I actually mentioned it on the water yesterday. It was the first time, Matt, that I actually went by the gym where my accident happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That would have been funny if you'd gotten ran off the road.
Well, there's construction going on right there, and you have to go slow. But both going to the lake and going back, it was really the first time that I had seen anything, that was related to the accident.
Well, it was good. So I got the W. Speaking of W's over the weekend.
Yes.
Do you want the first name or the last name?
Of what?
I'll take Jacopo.
Keep going, man.
Dude, so...
We're going to have him on the show.
Yeah, so this is a very underrated story, in my opinion, because this is a really cool story about a dude from Italy who basically put everything on the line a couple years ago. He bought a boat before he had even qualified for the Costa Championship back there at the time. He fished in the Bassmaster Classic, if it looks familiar, but he won the Pro Circuit event on the Potomac River and just absolutely obliterated him on the final day.
20 pounds, is that right?
Yeah.
On the final day?
And it was kind of cool. Lawson Hibden was actually leading that thing for the first 3 days. So you want to talk about... Yeah. You want to talk about some history there. But, dude, there's actually a great article over on MajorLeagueFishing.com called Q&A with Jacopo Galelli, and he said, I feel pressure because they expect big things, and it goes through basically his whole story, how he got here, why he got here, what he's doing over here, and it is definitely a must read. So we're going to have him on, but that was the big tournament that went down over the weekend, which we weren't able to talk about on Monday and Tuesday because, as you already stated, I was beating you on Tuesday, and Monday we took a day off, so...
Yeah.
Do you want to get into it real quick while we talk about winners over the weekend before we bring another guy who wins
absolutely
all the time? And John Soukup is, and we talked a little bit about this off air, Mark, but John Rahm won the U.S. Open this past weekend.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I don't know how much you watched.
I watched the entire final day.
It was good stuff.
Meltdown after meltdown.
Oh my gosh, man! Craziness.
I mean, meltdown after meltdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like Bryson DeChambeau just losing 6 5-pounders at the boat on the final day of a tournament.
Yeah.
But I came across something, and granted it is on Callaway's Instagram account, but we've talked about this a little bit in the past, is that you don't often see in golf guys going, hey, I won, and it's because of the club and the ball and the equipment change and all this. And it brought me back because when Kevin Van Dam won the last stage of the BPT, the first thing he did after his victory speech is he holds up his Lose Signature Series combo, talks about the reel, the rod, talks about the Strike King bait and the entire combo, and he breaks it down. Everyone says, oh, that's great. Not a single person.
Part of the game.
Part of the game, right? Well, John Rahm talks about, the Callaway, and he had made the switch from TaylorMade and stuff. And this is on the TaylorMade, or this is on the Callaway account.
Yeah.
So it's like, it would be like Lose posting Kevin Van Dam saying, here's my Lose stuff, which they do, which everybody's like, that's freaking awesome.
That's part of it.
Dude, it's got to be different in golf or something, because the comments on here are like, bashing him for saying how good his equipment was. Basically, it's like, oh, I just bought everything, went out and shot 106, and oh, that that's bull. It's weird to me on how the golf crowd takes product pumping way differently than the professional fishing crowd. And you brought up some interesting points as to why you think why.
Yeah, well, I think a couple of reasons. One, the amount of money that these guys make. All right, they're not sleeping in their truck. They're taking a Lear from city to city, stop to stop. The second thing is, it does occur, Matt, and if you go back and you look at trophy presentations or press conferences from the past, golfers do mention the equipment that they use. I think it's just more prevalent in the fishing game than it is in the golf game. And, that's part of the contract. That's part of the agreement. I'm sure it was part of his agreement that he has with Callaway, where he's making his millions and millions and millions of dollars. that he needs to mention. But here, let me say this. Those guys don't need to do that, which is a lot different than in the fishing world. These guys are millionaires. And if anybody out there wants to debate the fact that the top 50 earners in the PGA are probably annual earners are well over $500,000. Top 50 and probably pushing that $1 million earnings line. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot different from a financial situation of these guys. But at the same time, did you believe him? Was he believable in the comments that he made, Matt?
I thought it was really believable.
I mean, I did too.
But I mean, I think
it's irresponsible for somebody to say, "Well, I used the same clubs that he did, and I went out and shot 106."
Well, it's one of 3,000 comments on Instagram, so I wouldn't take that one to heart. But I'm just saying, it was interesting that I just am not used to hearing that out of the professional golfers and how much we take it for granted in fishing.
It is done. Now, how much is that going to move the needle on the number of Callaway clubs that are sold today? That would be interesting to see. Mm-hmm. And I do not have it in front of me, but we are going to have somebody on during the marathon show that was involved in both industries, both the PGA and trying to get a lot of promotional work done for professional anglers. So we'll ask him about that. I always ask that question when a guy wins on the Elite Series of the BBT. Did they move the needle on Monday?
I will say here's the difference. In fishing, you do have certain things that 100% help you catch more fish. We've seen, with a lateral line vibrations, Alabama rig, chatterbait, that type of stuff.
Hey, look at this stuff that Frank has told.
No, that's 100%. Yeah. It's a little different because there's no golf hole that as a ball gets close, it goes, I've never seen a ball like that. I need to go get that ball and make sure it goes in the hole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The other thing is the equipment that these guys are using on the PGA are a lot different than the equipment that people go in and can buy off the rack.
In some cases.
Many cases. There's a lot of tweaking. And just like we asked that question to guys that win, and we'll ask John that question, the tinkering, the modifications that take place, what do you do?
But here's the thing. So that the lose combo that Kevin won on, that he just came out with, right? You could literally purchase that, spool it up. I mean, it's not like Kevin has secret Kevin-only rods or Kevin-only reels, right? Or people sitting there. As far as I know. I mean, you've got guys who sometimes change out reel guts and put bearings and stuff in and
tweaking, modifications.
But I mean, it's the stuff they use. You can go and buy it off the shelf, and it's what they use. It's a little bit different in golf as far as like the grooves and all that.
I think
the
subject you brought up about this whole PGA situation and the way that he handled his press conference was a really, really good subject to bring up because, let's face it, those guys don't need the money. They don't. The guys in the fishing world need the money. Agree or disagree?
The majority of them, but Kevin isn't like, thank God we're going to be able to get top ramen because I plugged my lose.
That is a necessity for the survival and success of guys that win.
My whole point of bringing it up was how just part of the deal it is in fishing, and on how when someone actually talks about it in another arena, such as golf, it kind of stood out to me because I would watch a lot of golf. I used to golf a lot. I don't golf a lot anymore now. Yeah. Crappie fishing has taken the place of golf. But I just thought it was interesting to hear what I called a fishing plug following a golf tournament.
Yeah, it does happen, but and you showed it to me, somewhat unique to that extent, but really good information. And I think it moves the needle. So we'll see. And looking forward to having that gentleman on the Marathon Show. All right, a couple of things, and we're going to take a break and get John here live in studio.
He was going to bring his trophies in.
We don't really have a place to.
Well, that's what I said. I said, dude, those things are like 4 foot tall and 6 foot wide.
They're like massive bookends, man.
Yeah, that's what I said. I told him, they're open at the NPFL. You could like send suggestions. And I said, you need to like send an official letter in that's like, will you please make the trophy smaller for the remainder of the year? I'm running out of room in the office.
All right. I have an idea and I want to run it by you. All right. I want to run it by the fans. We have fans out there all across the nation. This is not going to be an official thing, so I don't want people to get upset or get mad or whatever that might become of this idea. You guys tell me if it's a good idea. Matthew, we are 10 subscribers away from 10,000 on YouTube. Here's what I'd like to do. I had talked about that we were going to have a get-together once we surpassed the 10,000 mark. And then on the way home last night, I was thinking about this because I actually checked it before I got on the highway. I was looking at some other stuff and just glanced and saw that we were, I don't know, a few away. When I looked at it last night, I looked this morning, we're 10 away. People have asked me, and I had a number of people ask me at the Classic also, it was like, hey, Mark, why don't you have a get-together on the water? And I go, what do you mean? So why don't you just have a event for BTL fans?
Hey, we're going to be out here at this day. Come on out. We'll cook out afterwards.
Well, yeah, that kind of stuff.
So you're taking everyone to Lake X?
So, no, we're not going to Lake X.
Oh, my gosh.
No, now, I know a lot of people out there are all across the country. It's not just Oklahoma or Missouri or Arkansas or whatever. But if I could pick a weekend, not a weekday, if I could pick a Saturday or a Sunday with a date and say, all right, Matt and I are going to be at Lake whatever. All right, come out. We'll have a little
Maybe we can get Hallman to come out.
Yeah, we'll have a little contest. And then at the weigh-in, I will have just an enormous amount of food, and people, it will be here. Come eat barbecue. When it's gone, it's gone, and it is what it is. Just to show thanks to everybody to get to that 10,000 subscription mark, and maybe catch some fish.
What do you think? Like more Ozarky or more Texomi?
No, more east somewhere, not 10 Killer.
Okay.
All right, someplace where, maybe Grand, maybe.
Well, that's north.
Well, that's east.
Yeah,
it is east. Probably Grand, because I know there's a lot of places out there that could get the food that is going to be necessary for this. And look, come on, folks. I'm not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars in food here. I'm talking about, hey, grab a couple of ribs, some potato salad. Let's all get together and celebrate the fact that we are over 10,000 subscribers, and then have a little event, go out, try and catch 5, and the winner, gets whatever.
Winner gets the bass tank to jump in their boat and make sure that their electronics are dialed in.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
I see he took it up, but he said there's no way KVD uses stock gear. Yes, he does. I've been in the boat with KVD for multiple media events where we have to use their gear. It's literally like picking up one of my combos. Like it's not like,
it's good stuff.
I mean, there's fresh line on it. Everything's new on it, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Like I fished with all the guys' stuff.
It's good stuff.
But it's not like, oh, what'd you do to this reel? And he's like, oh, that's my reel. No, it's the same stuff that you buy. It's the same rods. He's just better at casting.
Here's what we're gonna do. All right, I'm gonna take ideas from the fans. Feel free to email me, mark@basshone.com. I'm already seeing some comments on the YouTube comments about, hey, do this next year. That way I can plan vacation. Maybe we are to put a little bit more thought on this. And then what we will do is we are going to have another show at Black Rifle Coffee in the mornings. Yes.
Starting when?
Sometime next month before you leave.
Oh, nice.
All right. So they said that they wanted us back. So we will have a little get-together at Black Rifle Coffee once again. My treat. All right.
Who else do we have? We got to have some other people in the area that are connected with him that we could bring in.
I know, we'll have to take a look at it. So we'll do that celebration, and then based upon the feedback that I get from not only the people that are watching live, but also the people that listen to us on the audio replay on whatever podcast platform you listen to the show on, we bring it back. There is a slight, and I'm just going to say slight chance that we might be able to have fish and chips in there at the same time. Slight. All right, but that would be cool to be able to do that. Anyway,
at the meet and greet deal?
Huh? Yeah.
No, yeah. Remember, Brad and I talked about this for literally 7 hours. I've got everybody on board with it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it right there.
It's 100% already planned out. Like, we just have to have a date and a time.
What casino?
Well, we're taking the chips part out.
So
have I not gone over this with you?
So it's fish and chips minus the chips.
No, it's a fishing tournament but it's at the casino because that's great evening time entertainment, but it's not part of there'll be like a standalone.
You haven't told me about this.
I haven't told you about this?
No.
Where we bring in the 20 guys, but it's the combined weight deal like they do in the U.S. Open. So you come and sign up and you might fish out of the 3 days. We do a draw every night at dinner. You might fish with Brad one day, me the next day, and John the third day.
I had no idea. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Definitely in July, I'm going to show a little appreciation to the fans. We'll do another live on location from Black Rifle Coffee. And come out, join us on that. I'll buy you coffee.
We've literally talked for like 6 hours about this. Like I have notes about it. I've already cleared it with like sponsors to give packages and stuff. I think it's a great deal.
Man.
Like you can fly in.
Taking care of
it's like a 5-day deal. And here's the thing: like you can either come because you're fishing with one of 20 guys who are associated with BTL that have been in the past. We get all the guys in.
No idea.
And then you can either like come in for a price. You get put up everything. Then you use our stuff, so you get to practice for day and then fish for 3 days, and then you're competing against the other BTL listeners who are part of it. And then here's how we'll talk the about boaters in. That's a completely different side deal.
We'll talk about it later. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, it's freaking dialed in already. All you have to do is make the room reservations, Mark.
Okay, there you have it. Anyway, let's get to 10,000 first. We're 10 away. Tell your friends. Surpass that number today. On the show today, subscribe to us on YouTube. Get past 10,000. We'll have a show at Black Rifle. Panger and I will talk about a big event that we'll have. That will be a fan appreciation event either this year or at the beginning of next year. And bottom line is this. We just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of this show, the live show, and everything that goes down with it. And yes, I like the idea of being able to plan your vacation to come take part in this event. All right. Let's see here.
That's all I have.
Oh, the other thing real quick. A lot of people have sent me emails. Hey, when are you going to have Hank Cherry on? Well, I will say this. I've already been in contact with Hank. We're going to do the same thing this year that we did with him last year. We're going to have him on about a month later. And the reason is because we want to get his take, especially now winning back-to-backs, on what life is like, how his life changed, and really more about the afterwards rather than, and obviously we'll touch on what went down at the Classic, but he's making the rounds. He's talking to everybody, basically.
We do a meetup. Brad and I should just bring the Traeger.
What?
Brad and I should just bring the Traeger if we do a meetup and fish. It needs to be two separate things. One's like a high end.
You're still back on. I'm trying to tell people about what we're doing with Hank Cherry.
Yeah, we're having him on in a month, like we did last time.
Yeah. So anyway, we have not forgotten about Hank Cherry. We're going to have him on here in a month.
I just wanted to vocalize that for the Traeger because I thought it was a good idea, but now it's on the show so I can have it on the replay. It's like a personal note there.
There you have it. All right. Now, the last thing is, yes, on day 4 tomorrow, we're going to have Frank on. We said that we were going to make an announcement. Frank was going to make an announcement on today's show. We are not making that announcement until Monday. The reason is that there are some logistics that go with this announcement that are not ready. And when Frank does make the announcement, we want to make sure that logistically everything is set up and ready to go. Folks, this is cool. You're going to like it. You need to take advantage of it. And Frank will be on the show just for a few minutes on Monday to make the announcement of this new feature that Frank's going to have. All right, that's it. You got anything else?
Yeah, so we've got John Soukup on, obviously winner of the 2 of the 3 NPFLs. The guy hasn't finished below like 15th this year, or in the last like year and a half, basically. Yeah. Do you have an idea like where we're going with this? Because last time it turned into like a therapy session of what's wrong with my electronics. Is this more of a Soukup his years type interview?
It's both. It's a mixture. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I mean, he is the bass tank. I mean, come on.
No, I'm not pushing the grill like golfers push Callaway.
That's like having you on a show and not talking about finesse fishing.
I think Justin Lucas is the only one who's actually making money in the grill game.
Well, good for him. Is that what that shameless plug was all about? Trying to make money in the grill game?
No, someone said I was. But when Lucas posts like the succulent lamb chops with rosemary, it's a calculated effort. I have challenged him to a grill off, and he has accepted.
Meet and greet. I like that.
Yeah, the Pangers meet and greet sounds a little. We can take the Pangers out there because they're.
That's pretty good. Meet and greet. Yeah, leave the pangers out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Scott's probably making real money too.
Yeah. All right, folks. Good things in the works for all the BTL fans out there, and looking forward to it. Hey, I'm just glad
John,
to be in studio.
My live scope seems to be, it's a little bit to the left instead of to the right. Have you had that issue? Do you know how to fix that? You got some time right now?
You really had to go there.
Can you walk me through that?
You really had to go there, Matt.
It's just a joke.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. We're coming back with our special in-studio guest just in a few minutes. Everybody stay tuned on a Wednesday.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to active imaging and new active target live sonar, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor. For a limited time, building the ultimate fishing system will be easier on your wallet. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, active target sonar, or live sight sonar, and save up to $800.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
I've been my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone Lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone Lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking digging. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
All right, we are back on a Wednesday, back in studio with our special guest, John Soukup, and...
Wait, I should be fired. I believe... it's...
Say it again.
I believe...
Say it wrong again.
It's the sad part is it's so much cooler properly. Okay, listen. I was on the water. I had tournaments this weekend. So I only watched a little bit of... I did not get to watch any of the final day live with our international friend who won, right?
Uh-huh.
But I watched it.
Uh-huh.
It's Jacopo Galilee.
Nope.
It's say it.
Jacopo Galilee.
Which is so much cooler than Jacopo Galilee.
And
we just lost him on the show, Mark.
That's not true.
Yeah. So Jacopo and I have about 3 things in common right now.
Okay.
Okay.
You both win.
We both just won. We both have names that everybody likes to butcher. My name is actually Soukup.
Soukup?
Yeah, like soak up water, soak something up.
Soukup.
I don't
Soukup?
correct people because my whole life I've been called Soukup, suck up.
What do I say?
You say Soukup. It's okay.
Soukup?
Now we know.
It's Soukup. Yeah. You'll have a hard time saying it right now.
Soukup?
So Jacopo Galilee, not Jacopo Galilee of Galilee.
Okay.
So that's the 2 things we have in common.
Okay.
The third thing is I actually met Jacopo in the 2009 Bass Nation National Championship.
Wait, 2009?
2009.
How'd that go down?
Doing it a while.
So Jacopo had some fish found in Griffin, and he swung for the fence. He's the first guy that ever taught me about throwing a big weight. He actually punched with like a 1-ounce weight. Back then I thought, what in the world? I've never even heard of that. So it's really cool that I just won off the Harris chain, and that's where I met him. We were at the Harris chain as well. And he caught like 2 8-pounders, maybe even 8 and 9 on the last day. He only caught 2 fish. But he came in with these 2 monsters. All the girls love him because his accent, Yeah. He's owns a club in Italy. So we became friends, and we've communicated over the years. Matter of fact, at one point in time, him and I had communicated about, fishing the opens together and trying to, a long time ago. And so he's given up his life in Italy. He has really interesting stories because they don't have big motors in Italy. So it's all little, those little boats with, trolling motor only boats and lakes and stuff. So one of his big things coming to the U.S. was trying to figure out, just how to operate out of a big boat originally. So he's been doing this for a long time. This isn't just a win. That
it just
came
does
out
not
of
like he
nowhere.
shows up and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So did you talk to him after his win?
I just messaged him. Honestly, I didn't even know he had won.
Really?
Yeah, I was just being busy with my head down. And
John was too busy winning himself.
Yeah, I just messaged him. I sent a couple text messages on Facebook. He hears me and he reached out. Obviously, dude, I know what kind of effort. I heard it in his voice probably 8 years ago on the phone talking about how he was about to give up everything and come move to the United States. And he was going all in.
So is he a co-resident? Is that what it's called? Dual residency?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things like with Carl and stuff. It's just like,
man, I remember him talking about like the difficult, think about what do you do with your boat? If you have a boat in Italy, there was all sorts of things that he was, and I haven't checked back with him in a couple of years, so I don't know exactly what all he's doing in life in Italy versus just here in the U.S. But
yeah.
One of the other international anglers, remember Michael Matee almost won on Grand.
Mm-hmm.
He was South Africa, I believe, right?
I met him at the Force Wood Cup.
God, you're an international man of mystery.
Yutzi?
Yeah.
Yutzi?
The South African guy? Yeah, that's before my time as far as when he did. Yeah. We didn't bump into each other. I was, But no, Michael Matee, we
Did I mess his name up too?
Yeah.
Is it Matee or Matee?
I thought it was Matee, but I can text him and ask him how to pronounce it.
Because I did the FLW. I was the analyst for that, so maybe I butchered it on him. Maybe
So
he
here's
hates
what's
me
cool.
for that too.
I see his little profile and I see the FX rods on his jersey, and I was actually had a booth. The Bass Tank had our first booth set up at the Grove Show, and they were fishing the Open. Was it that you actually did the commentary on?
No, that was a FLW tour at the time.
That was okay. So he'd qualified. So after the Force Wood Cup, he took the opportunity and went to the tour. That's right. I didn't.
Right.
So I did the Bass Tank thing, and I was sitting there, and he actually came over to see me. He was doing pretty well, and actually, I think it was Omega Spinnerbaits had some spinnerbaits there that he was throwing a certain color blade or something of that nature.
Yep.
And it was at the FX rod booth, and I actually watched him get introduced to the owner of FX. So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
So yeah, I've kind of it's neat when you have been around the industry, and you guys know what I'm talking about. For me, it's just now happening, to see friends and things of that nature start to blossom and have their success in the career.
All right, man. I want to dive into this first. It doesn't matter what you're fishing. It could be a club event. It could be a team event. It could be a nation event. It doesn't matter. To win twice in the same year is very, very difficult. To do it at the level that you have done it at is even more impressive. Why do you think this has happened, John?
I'm getting older. I mean, I'm 39. I've been doing this since I was. My first word was fish, but I've been doing the tournament thing since I was 27. And I think it's an accumulation of. What is that saying about the 10,000 hour thing?
When you become an expert.
Yeah.
It honestly in life, and I told Matt at the beginning of the year before the season started, I was like, dude, I feel different. I feel good in a different way. Like, not overconfident, but I feel like I can just get on the water and catch them everywhere I go. I know, and I think it's accumulation of focusing on the right things, the priorities in life, taking care of business, taking care of family. My home life is great. My kids are great. Everybody's healthy. Business is healthy. I'm at peace in life, and honestly, I feel like that's all coming together at the same point of my experience. I've lost a lot, and you put that together. I've lost to Matt. I still remember losing to him at Gunnersville.
Yeah,
there's still a part of that competitor inside of me that kind of eats me up, that I dropped that one.
Yeah.
But I remember every detail of why I lost. I remember what he was doing different than me. I remember the scenarios and the time of year.
I remember that. Because you had 8 pounds on the final day. I'm with Brock. I knew we were going to win. I had 16. And you said, what do you got? I said, I got about 15 or 16. And you said, congratulations, you won. But you congratulated me and we left. And I was like, dude, he is not happy. Like, I remember telling Brock, I was like, he is not happy.
Well, Matt
right
did
now.
pepper spray me to win that tournament, by the way.
Oh, that was I was trying to prevent you from getting melanoma. I didn't know that he was going to have an allergic reaction to the sunscreen that I told him to buy, and he started, instead of putting it on a small area of the skin, he started by spraying it on his face.
Yeah. That's not how. So you ask how things happen. How am I winning, right? So this is experiences like this. This is exactly what happened. I was getting sunburned. My sunscreen wasn't working. And so Matt said, hey, man, I just went to my dermatologist. They recommend this stuff. He drove me all the way to Walmart. But I'm winning. I'm in 4th place in the whole tournament, right?
Okay.
And he says, here's what you do. You buy this stuff. You just close your eyes and
go.
Neutrogena. And you go. So right before takeoff.
This was serious, though. I wasn't trying to.
Right before takeoff, I'm going to pull this away. So I close my eyes and I go. And I get to my first spot. And I'm like, oh, man, something. I cast out there and I set the hook. And I'm reeling this fish in. And the guy that's with me tells me he's blind, by the way.
Wait, the guy you're fishing with is blind?
Yeah. He's blind. And I didn't take it serious until he's taking the net. And my fish is up here, the trolling motor, and he's stabbing back by the console with the net like this. And all of a sudden, I can't see nothing. So I grab his arm. He's got a hold of the net. And I drag it over here and I lift it up. And I catch the fish. And I'm on him. 30 minutes later, I'm on the side of the boat, puking. I've been pepper sprayed, man.
I didn't know this.
That's on you.
No, this was that clear. It was like a matte finish spray, and you spray it on, it dries. You don't even know it's on. Well, apparently it didn't dry. It just beaded down into his eye.
2 hours of
wow.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go back to what you just described. Forget it, not the pepper spray and all that and everything, but your reasoning and how it sounds like to me that everything is in the right place from a life standpoint.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Pressure-wise, there's still daily pressure that you feel being a business owner and just pressures that are everyday things in life. But you see so many people out there that are trying to make it in this game that have the financial pressure, that have the mental pressure, that have all this weighing on the decisions that they make. Whereas from a decision-making process and from a versatility process, it sounds like that you have things dialed in. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel that way 100%. Yeah. Matt and I talked earlier in the year. Obviously, we talk all the time, help each other. And most of the time when we're not doing good, we call and pick on each other, brag about how the other one's doing better. Yeah. But I called Matt and said, hey, Matt, what helps you catch fish? And he cash checks. And he's like, what's that? And I said, not having to cash checks. And that's where I'm at in my fishing. Like, I didn't go. There's a lot of times I could have jumped in the tour or I could have chased the opens or something. For me personally, okay, this is just my personal decision. This isn't I'm not knocking the guys that risked it all at a young age. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But for me, I was married young, kids young, and everything like that. It just. And don't get me wrong, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 17 years old, so I still have bills and I've had risks and investments, and I still owe money and stuff like that. So, so there is pressure in business. But on the fishing side of things, before I took and went into the fishing side of things and risked the domino effect of it all, I have got set up to where I don't have to cash a check in the fishing world. I've got my stuff taken care of. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that for me was the right decision. Like the extra pressure, the stress, I don't have that. I don't have to cash a check.
Yeah.
And it does help, I think, versus my competitors. I see them stress, and I've heard them make the comments. I know different guys that say I'm X amount in the hole, and I'm thinking, man, I don't have that thought at all when I'm on the water.
All right, let me ask you this about your 2 wins and separate both events. Your decision-making process on how to attack every single day, how would you classify that as obviously success because you ended up winning, but was it one of those days every single day where every decision that you made was the right one, or did you have to battle through adversity?
Speaking of the Harris chain?
Yeah.
Talking for people, this is the NPFL. We're talking about the National Professional Fishing League, new professional league that came on this year. $5,000 entry fee, 6 events, 2 in the spring, 2 in the summer, 2 in the fall, spread out all over it. They've had, there's roughly, 105, 110 guys that are fishing this. There's been 3 events so far. First one.
And he's won 2 of them.
Yeah. First one was at Eufaula, Alabama. Then they went to Wright-Patman in Texas, and then they went to the Harris chain in Florida. So that catches everyone up to speed. He dominated on Eufaula. He won wire to wire. He had a great tournament in Wright-Patman, and then he had a massive final day there in Florida. So, like I said, he's won 2 of the 3. You're sitting, 4th in the Angler of the Year?
Yeah. I'm in second.
Second, sorry. Yeah. Second in the Angler of the Year. So that catches everyone up to speed. What'd you win? $50,000 for each one. You're 3 tournaments in, $15,000 entry fee. You've won $110,000.
There you have it. Now, success. Was it overcoming adversity or being totally dialed in?
Yeah, totally dialed in.
How did that happen? How do you get totally dialed in?
Okay. Man, there's a process for my pre-practice in.
Tell people, pass along success and tell them how you did it.
So for me, some people know, some people don't know. I took off an entire year of really competing in the bass world, besides fishing jumping in BFLs last year to fish the crappie tour, and I did that to help build the brand of the bass tank, and I actually enjoyed it too, by the way. I mean, and so there's something about studying the prey that helps you understand bass better, and knowing the whole ecosystem of how the environments work around each other. And I could feel over the last 2 years focusing on the crappie how that it was going to benefit me in the bass world. And so last year I did not bass fish. I knew that I was going to be fishing the NPFL, so I didn't have to chase the opens or anything like that. So I go into this year completely refreshed, ready to go. At the Harris chain itself, and I say that about the crappie fishing because it's all about electronics. It's all about graphing. It's all about, using your maps, studies. It's all, it's a lot of brush pile fishing. So you're not going down the bank is what I'm saying. You can't just show up and fish in a crappie tournament. So you're using, your forward shooting sonars and things of that nature. So spent the last couple of years, of course, with the bass tank, just dialing in. And I think that's a part of the game that 5 years ago I didn't have. And when I went to Forest Wood Cup, I was learning it, but I didn't have it. Like I didn't fully have it. And so after, getting whooped a little bit at the Cup, I was like, dude, this is what I've got to focus on. So the last 3 years, it's been that little part of the game. So now going to the Harris chain, last time I was there, it was in 2009. There was no grass. It was in the fall. Completely different. And so you've got all these different lakes, how many ever different lakes there are. And so pre-practice, I drove down there, 20 hours up there, and I spent 3 days on the water, and I jumped every single lake, and I just graphed. And I was looking for offshore grass. I was looking for offshore shell beds. I was looking for brush piles, anything, schools of fish, anything because I felt like it was going to be one offshore. And after practicing for 3 days, day 2, I went to the bank for a minute for about an hour, and I threw a chatterbait and I caught 4. This is before the Bass Pro Tour was there. Mm-hmm. So I caught 3 or 4. So okay, I know I can catch the limit doing this. Day 3, after all my graphing right before I ran home, I decided to take a big weight and go to the bank and punch in the Kissimmee grass, which is miles and 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 miles.
It all looks the same. I've tried it.
It took me 2 hours, and I caught a 7-pounder. One bite, 7-pounder, in 2 hours of flipping. And so I kind of had in my head, hey, you know what? My default could be throwing a chatterbait or flipping. I'm definitely known for my electronics. My first win was 100% using, my live scope, and I didn't make a cast unless I saw a fish, and I was putting the lure right on that fish's face. And so those that don't really know my history, like Matt does, would think, okay, that's all he really knows how to do. Well, what they don't know about me is I lived on Cushing Lake in Oklahoma. It was 3 miles from my house, and 3 to 4 days a week, that's all I did was go whoop, whoop, and flip grass edge for 10 years. That's all I did, you know.
Wow.
Jackpot after jackpot after jackpot. It's the reason why I throw left-handed reels. Like, I developed fishing left-handed reels because all I did is flip. Now it's not Kissimmee, but it's water willow here. But on Cushing, it was so fertile, it got really thick, and it would mat over, and it behaves the same. It's grass. Grass is grass. It's not 100 yards deep like in Florida. It's only 10 yards deep. But I understand the nuances of how they set up in grass. And so I knew I didn't have to practice the Kissimmee grass because I understand it. I try to do everything in the world else besides that. And so after my first day of official practice, I go to Harris Chain. I said, okay, listen, I'm going to go to the grass. I'm going to get some confidence that I can get bit in it, and I'm going to get out of it. I went to the grass. By noon, I had like 30 bites. They were all tiny, 1.5 pounders. I had 2 3-pounders. So I'm like, okay, if I bust them real hard, maybe I can get to 14, 15 pounds doing this. In the back of my mind, though, I remembered catching a 7. The difference was, in pre-practice, I flipped a big punching weight and got that big bite. It took 2 hours to get that bite. In official practice, I was flipping like a little 1/2 ounce, 3/8 ounce I was playing with just to get numbers of bites, you know. And so I pulled away from there, and I went for the next 2 days, and I tried to do all my offshore stuff again that I located and I had marked grass beds and stuff. And the grass was just gone, like literally gone. It wasn't like
it's almost like they sprayed it.
Yeah, very crazy. Like we joke about this, but the eelgrass that was over in. So like I said, there's Harris, Big Harris, Eustis, Griffin. You go to Dora, Beauclair, Carlton. All those lakes I was in. I had stuff marked in every single one of those lakes, and I was going to decide by the environment which lake I was going to fish in. And I didn't want to travel far, to be honest with you, so I was looking for an excuse to stay in Harris. I did not like the idea of going through all the canals. And but I was going to prove it, you know, at least in practice, eliminate that. So I went to Beauclair, man. I had these big eelgrass beds. I mean, they would go up like to the ceiling in here, like 9-foot tall grass. And I went in there, it just gone. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, maybe they sprayed and it rooted up and it blew off. And then some local said, no, the manatees came in and ate it. It was kind of funny. I was like,
jeez.
So I don't know if there's truth to this or not, but I'm like, I don't know if it looks like a big bowl of salad to a manatee. They roll up and
they are called sea cows, I think.
Wow.
So anyways, to just break that longer story short, the offshore game in practice for me did not happen. I mean, I found the grass in Griffin that Brett Height smashed them on. It took me a couple hours to find it, and I found it. Way bigger piece of structure. I'll say that cover mat of hydrilla is more like a big old thing of structure. It's huge. I don't know how many acres of it there is, and it's a big wall, real thick. I caught a couple 4-pounders in it, and it just felt like I was forcing an issue that I couldn't make happen over there. So the final day of practice, I go back into Harris. You get 3 days of practice. I picked up a chatterbait in the morning, and I covered a bunch of water. Got a couple bites doing it. I kind of noticed what the fish, where they were at. So instead of fishing, I just ran and marked the stuff that looked right for the chatterbait game. So I quit doing that. About 10:30, I was offshore. It wasn't working again. I was like, dude, I got to go to the bank, and I got to try to figure out how to unlock the bank game now. And so I went to the bank, picked up the bigger weight, and caught a 4 and a 7 in practice. Back pretty close, within a couple hours of each other. And the first 7 was like, a guy called me, and I was like, literally, it was just on the bottom, and boom, I got a bite. So I didn't know how I was going to repeat that, but I knew that that's where they were at. So once I got the next 4-pounder, you know, I just put those 3 bites together, the pre-practice and that 4 and that 7. Mm-hmm. There was some common denominators in there of how I got bit and what the grass looked like, what the environment looked like, what bait I was using, what weight I was using. And I spent the rest of the time literally either running 30 miles an hour or probably 5 miles an hour on my trolling motor, and I covered every square inch of that as I could, just setting waypoints of what looked right. And so all that being said, you think you have the juice found, you think you have all these waypoints found. That's not actually what won me the tournament. What won the tournament was identifying the environment within the grass and knowing when to pull the plug on an area that you thought, well, I caught a 4 and a 7 here. That's where the big ones are at. That's not how it works in Florida. You can't live off of history. We had a situation where we had 30-mile-an-hour wind out of the east for like 3 weeks, 10 to 30 mile an hour. And so I talked about this a little bit on live, but the environment in Florida, this is what I'm learning. So I'm not from Florida. This is what I feel like I learned, is that those fish get really sensitive to any kind of change. But the opposite is even if it's an east wind, east is the least in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Over there, if it's consistency, it's consistent. The fish can set up, they feel comfortable. They don't care if it's northeast, southwest wind. As long as it's consistent, you can figure out a bite in the wind. You can figure out a bite in the calm areas. That's the biggest deal, consistency. Day one of the tournament, boom, the wind goes out of the south. Everything changed.
Wow.
And so the key was making those adjustments and getting away and not getting settled into, okay, this is where they're at, this is what they're doing. And from hour to hour, day one, I started out with a chatterbait and fished a bank I'd never fished in my life and caught him on a shad spawn. And during that time, I caught a 4-pounder, which is anything over 3 was what we were looking for. So I knew I was kind of on the right track. After the shad spawn, I moved in and started flipping. And I ended up catching them on different banks. And I only had 18 pounds on day one. And it put me tied for 10th. So I was sitting in 11th place. I lost the tiebreaker. And so day two, I had stumbled in on day one into a marina that I'd never fished. And it was like a dock. And those fish were on every single pole, just like in Oklahoma when they shad spawn. Just dunk, dunk, dunk.
Yeah.
And so day two, I'm like, hey, I'm going back to that marina. I'm going to catch my limit real quick, and then I'm going to go flipping. I go in the marina, and I don't get a bite. I'm in there for 30 minutes, and it's not a bite. And instead of sitting there and trying to wacky rig or drop shot or pulling my Matt Pang rack out on them, I was like, this is not working. What I noticed about Florida is when you get bit, you get bit. And when you don't, you don't. So I did try a couple things, some offshore stuff like open water scoping and different things like that. And I decided to go back behind the grass instead with a chatterbait and a swim jig. And I caught some 2.5s, really key. That I had 3 2.5s, which if your baseline is 2.5, it means you got something to build off of because you're going to get a 5 or 7 pound bite throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, okay, when I hit 11 pounds, I've talked to Matt about this. Forgive me if I'm talking too much about this.
You're a guest on a fishing show. You're supposed to talk about fishing.
So I had calculated in my mind that to max out on average, you're going to have about a 13-pound average if you fish the shad spawn all day long. Because you can fish it all day long. You can max out. You can run shade lines. You can run calm or windy water. You can get on the front. There's ways to maximize that.
There's so many ways to catch 13 pounds down on the hair chain.
But that's about what you're going to max out. Now, you might get lucky and get a 4-pound bite or a 5-pound bite, and you're going to jump up to 15. There was a guy that had 20 pounds on day one doing it, but there's no way to continually do that. No way. It's not going to happen. So especially with everybody else doing it, and there's only certain banks where it's really active all the time and all the boat pressure and stuff. So instead of, when you ask me how we went, instead of doing that for another 2 hours and trying to maximize that and get to that 13, when I got that 11 pound and I had those 3 2.5 pounders, I know that was a good baseline. Mm-hmm. I pulled the plug.
That's where you're talking about not fishing for a check.
Yep.
100% where he's talking about not fishing for a check. Because what I've done, I'd have been like, dude, I can get up to 13 pounds doing this. And I'd have grinded 13 pounds out. That whole last question, anyway, continue. But that's the difference. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's where he pulls the plug instead of me going, I think I can get 2 more pounds out of this. John goes, there's my baseline. Let's go figure out and catch 20 now.
Hang on a second. I think this sounds more like a combination of, yes, you were dialed in, but you were dialed in as a result of the analytics, the adjustments that you made based upon all the work that you had put in.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be, you got dialed in, but the effort and the amount of time that you spent to get to where you can make those adjustments.
I told you, Mark. I said, dude,
impressive.
He won in Florida. Remember, I call you. I said, how do people win in Florida? You do the same thing. We've had that on with Brett Height. You do the same thing. You go to the grass. You do the same thing. You put your head down. You hope you can hang on. I said, John just blew everyone away in Florida doing 9 different things. You're not supposed to be able to do that in Florida.
Well, so when I got to the 11 pounds on day 2, remember I was in 11th place after day 1 with 18. I knew I needed that high teens to stay competitive. And I knew that I felt confident that I could go to the grass and catch a 3-pounder for the rest of the day. I was early on. So I go over to my juice spot, if you will, where I caught that 4 and 7 in practice. Day 1, I couldn't get on it because it was snowed over with boats, just boats everywhere. So day 2, I go over there, no one's there. And so I'm like, okay, no one caught them here yesterday. They'd be here. Well, it was a calm bank. And when you get that calm bank, because of the Easter Willie Wind, it was an East bank. Mm-hmm. All the sunfish and what are those little guys? The long needlefish. All the needlefish come up and they get on the edge, and all the bait fish get on the edge. And those bass, when the sun gets up, in that calm water, they'll get up there and they'll ambush on that front edge of that grass, even though it's 100 feet deep. They got this wall here, and so now all of a sudden that bank is not calm, and you got a south wind blowing into it, and there was never any shad on that bank. That was the key thing, is understanding the difference between if they're feeding on needlefish in this grass mat, or if they're feeding on bait fish and shad. If they're feeding on bait fish and shad, you can have some wind. But if there was needlefish and sunfish, no, you don't want the wind. So I went over there and I was like, going to taste test it out a little bit. Okay, let's see what's up with this bank. And, it was drizzly still. It was cloudy. It was still drizzly. We had a drizzly morning that day. A little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle. And I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. This feels like frog time. And I hadn't got a bite all practice or pre-practice on a frog. But, I have it. You're in Florida. You have it tied on. So I dug in the box, pulled up the frog, and I looked up, and there was a little canal that I'd never been into. And I saw a little bit of hydrilla out in the mouth of it. And so I'm like, man, I'm going to go practice, and I'm going to go see if I can make this happen. So I put the trolling motor high, and I go in this canal, and I turn the corner, and it becomes this long canal. I didn't even know. I'd never been in there. And I'm moving pretty fast, and all of a sudden, man, whoosh. I mean, I had the largest frog bite I've had in my life. A 5.5 pounder just swallowed the thing. And I put it in the boat, and I keep on going down the road, and I caught a 3. And so I go in there, I'm doing my thing. I'm sliding over logs. I'm going way back in there. I don't know how this thing goes back for a long ways. And I'm trolling motoring high. And I fished only left bank. I was coming back the other way. And when I got back to my juice where those 2 bites were at, because they were within a few, the camera boats had found me. I had reported that weight, and there was 2 camera boats there. And we all knew, man, I'm not picking on those guys at all. They're doing their job. What they're doing helps me and my sponsors and stuff. Yeah. It was just an unfortunate thing that we collided right in the juice. They're parked in it. The canal's about as wide as this room. And so we were all like, yeah, this is bad. And I'm like, yeah, it's bad. So I kind of tried to fish a little bit, appease them for about 30 minutes in there. I was like, man, we got to get out of here. And it was a canopy. Those canals in Florida are canopied. Remember when I went in there, it was drizzly and rainy. And when I came out of the canopy, all of a sudden it was just boom. Sun was bright. There was no wind. And so I took the frog, put it right back in the box, picked up the flipping stick, and went flipping because it was flipping time. And so obviously, I had about 14.5, 15 pounds on that at that moment in time. And so I went flipping. And when I say went flipping, there is a long version of the intricacies within inside the grass of where I could guarantee a bigger bite. So I went chasing and figuring out the day of where they were at. And by the end of the day, I come across a spot. And I've been fishing down this bank for about an hour and a half. I had waypoints all down through it where I'd shooken off fish in practice. And the whole time I'm telling myself, man, you're just fishing history, you're fishing history. They're not here, they're not here. So I got my live scope out, and I started looking and paying attention. And I came up to this little point, and there it was, all the bait that I was talking about. A different kind of bait. We're not talking about sunfish. We're talking about actual shad. Balled up, and they're getting a light breeze, but it's breezing into the front edge of this grass line. And so I slowed down. I just tell you, I knew. And next flip, boom. And I think I caught 15 fish in a row. Flip after flip after flip. Wow. I went an hour and a half without a bite. I saw the bait, and I'm like, here it is. Hammered. In the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking about all the Florida stories I've heard. When there's small fish, there's big fish mixed in. So I'm just jacking them. I'm not calling. And all of a sudden, boom, I hit a 3. Well, I called out one of my 2s low 2s that I had. So then, one of the next flips, I set the hook, and it's a 6.5. And I jumped up from 15 pounds to 20 pounds in the one fish. I stop, I retie, I probably spent 3 minutes. I had a balance beam, those 2.5s that I told you that were my low end. Like, I didn't know which one was actually the smaller. So I spent all that time. I stand up on the deck, next flip, boom, 3.5. And in that one little stretch that was about as wide as this room here, I caught 15 fish, and I went from 15 pounds to 21.5 pounds in that one little stretch. And so I had about an hour and a half left in the day at that point, and I felt like I had maxed out. Well, I knew I had day 3, but I knew at that point right there, I was like, okay, I'm in the running for this thing. So I actually went practicing for the last hour and a half. I ran into some canals where some guys were catching them like crazy. It was reported commonly there was fishing there. And I got into them, and I live scope probably caught like 20 fish at the end of the day, but they were all tiny jerkbait fish, And so day 3, man, I had the option of, either the frog bite, the chatterbait bite, the swim bait, swim jig, chatterbait bite, or, the flipping bite of what to do. And, for me, I am a statistical guy. I love to do statistics, but I've learned where it has hurt me, and I've learned that I have to give myself time now, 3 or 4 hours a day, to just go fish new water every single day in every tournament. And so what I did was I thought to myself, you know what, that chatterbait, I've caught 50 fish on that chatterbait in the tournament, and only one of them, I've only caught 1 4-pounder doing it out of 50 fish. And I thought, I've got 2 frog bites, and one's been 3 and one's been 5.5. And then anything over 5 has been on that big weight. So I went out with the mindset I'm only going to fish for 5-pounders on day 3. And I figured I needed 22 pounds to win the thing. And that's what I did, man. I went out with a big weight. I started in that little stretch of grass where I'd caught all those fish on day 2 at the end of the day, and there was nothing to talk about, man. It was just small fish. I went frogging. I went back in that canal. I had 3 giants come up and boil on the frog. But here's the deal. They didn't eat the frog. On day 2, they choked it. It was down in there. They were so deep, it was one of those I'm afraid to hurt the fish to pull the out. Day 3, they're boiling on it, and they're not even eating it. And so I knew that they were in there, and I thought, man, I don't want to spend time to try to figure these things out. They're boiling on it because the sun's up and it's bright again. I need to get back to the grass edge. I come out the grass edge, I flip in this little piece of grass, and all of a sudden the whole thing goes.
That's a 7?
No, it was just a 2-pounder.
Oh.
But I told my camera guys, like, that's what we need to see. There's the difference between the way the fish are biting. And so I had about, I had caught a 4.5, so I don't know how much weight I had. I had I would say about 14 pounds or something. No. I'd only had like 11.5 or 12 pounds. And it was about 1:30, and I decided to run back over to my juice where I'd caught him the day before. Spot fish. I go over there, there's no bait on the live scope, nothing. And I know that they're not here. I had told my camera guy the whole time, hey, I was on the south side, we need to go back to this spot in the north. We run over there, we're getting set up, ready to go. I flip in there, I catch a 2.5. He's excited for me. Camera guys, how they get in it. And the whole time, my gut's saying, quit fishing here, quit fishing here, quit fishing here. And the reason is because I did not see the bait. All that bait wasn't there. And so what was going through my mind, though, was where I had caught that 7 in pre-practice, caught the 7 in pre-practice, caught that 7 in pre-practice. I hadn't fished it yet. All the tournament, I hadn't even fished it yet. So I said, man, hey, we're going to pull the plug. He's like, really? He's like, you just caught a fish. I was like, yeah, man, like something's telling me I need to go to this spot. So I ran over the spot. It was about 1:30, and I'm fishing around this dock. I'd only been there for a couple minutes.
That's when it happened.
That's when it happened.
Yeah. That was big. That's crazy. So even though you were talking about, hey, I wasn't using electronics and stuff, you were still using, technically you weren't seeing your fish or anything, but you mentioned a lot of time about seeing the bait and finding the bait. So you're even using it to kind of know whether or not you're in the right area like that?
Yeah. So, I talk to a lot of my customers all the time and just various people when they call. There's 3 different ways to use your electronics. And you use your electronics to find cover, structure, boat orientation, things of that nature. Okay. Every electronic that you're talking about, whether it's traditional, side, down, forward shooting sonar, your mapping, you can use it for the boat orientation, cover, structure, positioning, the things of that nature, right? Immediately. The second thing that you can do is if you're really tuned in, you can literally chase down a fish and put it right on his nose, like we did at Eufaula, and what we've been doing all winter long, and catching monsters. And so that's what everybody wants to do right out of the box. They want to do this. And I keep telling people, like, you're trying to do the top end thing right off the bat. You cannot do that day one. And it's only in certain situations. And I try to force it and make it happen in practice. When it's not happening, I don't do it anymore. I don't try to burn myself. But the third thing that you can always do with your electronics, always, is you can understand the environmental factor of what you're going on, what the bait are doing, things. That environmental factor of what's going on under the water, everybody knows to go chase the birds. When you see the birds, that's where... Those are your eyes under the water. Those are your birds under the water.
That's interesting. You're getting instead of just going to the house and not looking around, you're looking at all your surroundings. What type of neighborhood are we in? How are the people taking care? You see what? No, you see what I'm saying?
You have chickens in the backyard.
No, just listen though, because listen, I did this on 10 Killer yesterday. It's when they stopped biting on one brush pile, it's what kept me in the area because I looked around and I could be like, dude, there's bait and stuff getting chased around out here. They're not on that brush pile because they're out playing in the yard right now. If that makes sense. But what John's saying is, even though you're not like, oh, I'm catching them off my electronics, you're getting a feel for the neighborhood. What type of roads are there? Do I need to double lock the door? I think that type of stuff. You're getting a feel for it. So then instead of just being on someone's doorstep, knocking on their door, wondering what's inside, you know the journey on how to get there. You know where you are.
Right. I think every piece of grass in the Harris chain has a fish in it. The difference.
I mean, I fished it this year. I would beg to differ on that.
Here's what I think's the difference. I think there's different environmental factors that happen depending on the sun, the wind, the bait, and things of that nature that make those fish catchable and turn them on. And so that's the biggest deal, is looking for the environmental factors in Florida that have those particular fish turned on. If that makes sense.
Do you have audio on there?
Well, I just muted it.
What we're doing is John brought some goodies in. He's got all this stuff. It might even be better for you to hold that, Mark, and then.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying there?
Okay. You want to go through some of the stuff that you brought?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah. I mean,
here, I'll hold it. We'll see. This is the first time we've tried this. This is the mad scientist part of Jeffrey, so you might even get a little, like, this is what we see. Can you show that up there?
Yeah, hang on.
This is what we see, folks. That's the screen that we see, that we look at. There's a Tim Hortons apron. There's a San Antonio Iguanas jersey that Jeffrey's used to wear. There's the fridge, and then all the jerseys up on top. So anyway, there's me and John. So now we can dial in on some of the stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you guys talking about KVD and all those fancy baits and stuff like that, and man, I think honestly, this is the simplicity of it. I went to Florida, and I just, you keep it super simple, man. This is the rod. This is literally it. I haven't retied. I haven't had moss on it, but I took it to the classic, and everybody been rubbing it and stuff like that.
Your finger's in the way, Matt.
Yeah, because your phone keeps making noise.
Yep. There are some unique things that are.
How do you turn it off? Take your headset off. Sorry, John. We're going to get to the unique things, but I want to make sure we don't have. I can hear the reverb in it.
I can too.
Right there. There's the volume.
Yeah, I've been hitting it.
Damn.
I can still hear it.
It's good.
No, I can hear it. Take your earpiece off. It's still sounding. It's still talking.
All right, it should be good.
Wow. Are we good now?
Should be.
No, I can still hear it. It's okay. You got a lemon phone. Can you not hear the reverb?
No. That's
really annoying. Take your earpiece off for a second. Can you guys hear it, right? Sorry, we're letting you regroup here. See? Look, if I talk, you can hear it. See? Is that not crazy? Well, it doesn't mean we don't all have to not talk. But the volume's all the way down. It's like not working.
Huh.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it?
What?
Well,
anyway.
I tried.
You want to just do it like that with the echo or not?
That's kind of funny. They saw everything on.
What'd they see?
I don't know. They saw me moving the phone around.
All right. So left-handed reel.
Left-handed reel. I throw a left-handed reel, and there's a purpose for it. Like I said, I've fished, I don't know how many years on Cushing Lake, and I got tired of flipping in the grass with a right-handed reel. And as soon as I was handing the rod over to myself, like that, the fish would be swimming off. I didn't have time to click over. I'd try to set the hook, and I'd lose the fish because I wasn't in gear yet. So, I could have learned to fish left-handed, which, over time, it takes a lot more time. So to me, I bought a left-handed reel originally just for flipping. And so I flip in, and as soon as that thing hits the water, click, I'm there. So I'm in gear, I'm ready to set the hook immediately. And a lot of those times, I don't care if you're flipping in 7 foot of water or 1 foot of water, a lot of times, that's immediately when the grass bites. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're flipping there, and it's taken off already. So that's why left-handed reels for me. And over years and years and years and years and years of doing it, I developed where left-handed feels more comfortable than right-handed, so I throw left-handed everything now. But it started out just in the flipping world. So I got a 7/8 Denali right here, an N3. It's extra heavy flipping rod. Extremely important in that grass, man. You need the longer leverage. You need to be able to pull. The leverage is huge for control. And so that's what this is. And it's a heavier rod. It's the heavier of the series that I actually have with me. It's still got a little bit of sensitivity to it, a little flexibility, I should say. So the big key was 3/4 to 1 ounce. Here's the Covert Weights. You can get these at Denali as well, Denali.com. That's the actual weight that I'm using here. Obviously, it's pegged. You're trying to get it down in the grass. You can't not peg it because there's too many times that you're trying to lower that weight down, and you get to about 6 foot, and it gets on the roots of the grass, and a little bitty shake, and that weight would tumble that bait down, and boom, you get bit right at the very bottom. You can't do that if you're not pegging your weight, right? You have to peg your weight.
This is from Florida, right? This rig, this was from the final day?
This is it. Yeah, this is
you didn't re-rig it just to come in?
Nope. Nope. It's still, like I said, it still had the slop on it a little bit, but we took it to the classic and got rubbed off.
And then you went with is that the Jason Christie line?
100%, man. It's the Sun line. Here it is. Power 2 FC. And I am an extreme believer in this. I've been using this for over a year now. And here's the interesting thing about it. It's metered. See how my reel looks orange? So it's got 3 feet of just clear fluorocarbon, and it's got about a foot of orange. And yes, I don't tie to the orange. I don't know if it would matter or not. It's a mental thing for me. I keep the orange way above. But here's where my advantage was. 2 things we'll talk about. 1, I use fluorocarbon and not braid when everybody else was using braid. But first of all, the metered line, when I was flipping those edges that were 6 and 7 feet, I could watch, and that orange meter, it pops in my eye. I can see it. And when those big fish in Florida, they just sit on a bait. When you get one that just hammers it, that's a small fish. He's using his body weight to attack and kill that bait. And so the small ones are the ones that hammer it. So when you hammer it, you set the hook, you pretty much know it's under 2.5 pounds. But a big one, you flip in there and it just stops because he just went, and he just sat there. And he's ready to, he's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know? So here's the deal. Let's say he swims a foot sideways or 2 foot before you really recognized it. It's important to detect immediately that you got a bite. And so how you set the hook, that can be a conversation piece on its own. But the most important thing is to recognize that you just got bit. So when that metered line is falling down, I see that orange, and it just all of a sudden the orange stops, I'm right there to check. Was that a fish or a piece of grass? There's the weight. Set the hook on that.
It's the same reason why on finesse fishing you see so many guys use pink, orange, bright green braid on their spinning rod. They're basically using it like a bobber.
100%. It's a detector. Now, there's other things that help me when I'm flipping. I can tell when I need to lay left or right. If I was throwing completely clear fluorocarbon, there's several bites that I want to detect. If you go watch that 7.4 that I caught on live, you'll see me messing with my trolling motor a little bit, and I look up and I see that orange, and it's just stopped, and I immediately set the hook. I didn't feel that bite. I didn't anything. I saw the line stop, and I knew I was in 7 foot of water. There's no reason why my 4 foot meter mark should have just stopped like that, and the way it stopped, boom. So that is, huge. Now, the reason why fluorocarbon, this is 25 pound. The reason why fluorocarbon for me, I felt like I was smoother, more efficient. Being smoother, more efficient, I could get in front of more fish. I was more sneaky on them, I think braid, it rubs against that grass. I think they can feel a little bit more when they've been pressured. And listen, I did have, some 80-pound tied on and ready in the box, and I told myself if I start losing fish during the tournament, I'm going to switch immediately. But I didn't, and there's a reason why I was getting bigger bites, and this is one of them, and I never lost a fish. Those bigger fish in Florida, when you flip in and you get tangled up in the grass, most of the time those are the small fish. It's not the big fish. People are like, oh, I lost a big one. Well, maybe, but 99% of the time, the big ones, you set the hook, the weight of that fish pulling down, they go straight out from the grass 90% of the time, and that line just cuts that Kissimmee grass. You know what I mean? And that's when you know that you got a big
I mean, I don't know, because when I was down there, I never hooked a big one. But I've seen it happen multiple times. And then it was just a straight-up Florida staple.
Yeah.
Trick stick.
This is it. Listen, I brought the bag in because you can see I had this big bag. I set it on the deck with me so I could reach down. You're going to tear up a whole lot of baits. But the cool thing about the trick stick, so all I have left is green pumpkin. This is actually the June bug 5-inch is what I was using. That's actually what I was using. This is just brought in for an example. And here's the cool thing about the trick stick and the big bite. Yes, the big bite plastic is a little bit stiffer than your standard Senko, okay? Right. But when you're flipping, you don't need that soft plastic. So this right here actually allowed it to not tear as much. When you're flipping a Senko, it's just going to tear so much. Even when you just bump into a piece of grass, it will just tear on its own. And then it's got this little slot. I don't know if you can see that slot right there. And that slot allows me to take that straight shaped hook, bend it, poke it in, and then be right there, exposed, ready to set the hook. Because sometimes, man, those fish will grab it and pull a certain way, and they end up setting the hook on themselves. Extremely, extremely important. These are not just a sales pitch, man. These are two things I really felt like helped me land those bigger fish.
Cool.
And then, of course, man, we got to give a shout out to you guys because this is the real deal. Now, on the last day, I didn't have a chance to actually catch fish on it, but throughout the tournament, man, I did. We use the
gratuitous,
the BTL,
the gratuitous
that
bait. Oh, I ran out of them right when the camera came on me. Oh yeah.
Yep.
I appreciate the effort.
It's the BTL. It's the BTL BFE. I was punching. I had a 1-2 punch thing during practice, and when the sun would come out, I'd go up in that 1 foot, 6 inch water, 2 foot, and I'd find a mat, 1.5 ounce weight, and I'd punch in there. Now, obviously, I was using 80-pound braid when I was doing that, and yeah, throughout the tournament, day 1 and 2, and throughout all practice, it helped me develop the pattern.
The 2 wins. That's the one thing I think is interesting. Is did you feel like you could win on the first one, and then did the second one come easier because of the first win? Like, I mean, that's something that doesn't happen in very many people's careers, but I mean, what is it like to actually be number one, and then is it easier the second time?
I don't know how to answer that yet. I'd have to think through that, be honest with you. I mean, I don't think I can take either one of them for granted. And the first one, so, you know, we travel with buddies, right? We talk fishing before when we're practicing and stuff. And I'm continually the guy that's not catching them in practice. Everybody else is catching in practice. I'm frustrated. I'm like, but what I've done in practice is I've learned how to develop a way of eliminating water. Eliminate. To me, if I get one bite doing something and I know it's good, I quit doing it right away. Like, I stop right then. I may go mark some stuff that looks at, because I've learned too much in practice that I'll figure it out in practice. Well, the next day I've either beat them up or it's changed. So on Eufaula, Alabama, I knew that I was around fish, but I had not beat the fish up to know what size they were. I was just fishing for a check. I went into the season thinking I want to get a check. I think I needed like 12 to 13 pounds a day to get a check, and that's all I was fishing for. Now, with that being said, Bradley's always told me, he said, John, when you're around fish, you're probably around more weight than what you think. And that's what's happened. I mean, that statement has been true. Like, I was around a lot of fish. I knew I was around a lot of fish. And so during the tournament, I worked on developing how to actually get those bites, and the weight came. On day 1, I wasn't expecting to be in the lead. But once I was in the lead on day 1 on Eufaula, I knew after day 1 weigh-in that I was going to win that tournament. I felt like it was going to be mine to win. And so the opposite on Harris Chain, I knew I was around a lot of bites, but I didn't have any confidence that I was going to win the thing. Day 1, I felt like it was really difficult to get to 18. Now I knew I was tuned in, but it was after that 6.5 pounder on day 2 that put me over the 20-pound mark. And just me being a little bit of a statistical guy and math, following the numbers and stuff, I knew that I had an opportunity there. But it wasn't until I had my foot on their throat that I really knew that I had a chance at winning this thing.
Dude, there's some juice there. And it was even the comments on the YouTube comments was, hey, I'm going to have to go back and watch this again because there was so much juice.
There's one thing I've learned with John over the years is there's way more going on in his head than mine when it comes to where he is, why. And it's kind of ironic, you know, the reason we kind of ended up becoming friends was we were fishing the Bass Nations against each other, and we'd always be in the same damn spot.
Yeah.
Like every single tournament. Like I'd go around the corner. There's John. We'd be on a different lake. I'd be 30 miles from the ramp. There's John. Yeah. And so, I mean, then once you get inside his head and learn how much thought process there is to where, why, who, what, when, where, and stuff, it's pretty impressive.
All right, man. Can't have you in studio without talking just a little bit about business. How are things at the Bass Tank, and are you guys getting blown away right now?
Yeah, we are. And I mean, I don't know how to say it other than we've just been blessed. I guess we just pick, like, you have to be a part of the Bass Tank to win. I don't know if anybody saw that in the rules, but you have to be. So, but there's truth, man. You know what it is there's this camaraderie thing, and when you have friends that are really rooting for you and not jealous of you, what happens is, like, I have a good finish, you know, and Jason and Chris Jones and these guys, Zeke, you know, our sales rep, setting the world record heavyweight champion for crappie fishing, probably will never get beat. It's like the Clear Lake win of Steve Kennedy that will probably never, this weight will never. When you're rooting for each other, there's something about your buddy that you fish with, and he wins, you're like, wait a minute, I can do that. And it's like you build up confidence with each other.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously that feeling of what we're doing is also part of, in the fishing world, is going on inside of the business itself. We're doing something special over there. We're doing something unique, different. We can't be matched right now. We can't be out market. We just, there's because of what we're doing, there's three things you got to have in our business. You got to have the love for fishing, you got to have the knowledge, and you got to have the time. There's a lot of people that have the knowledge to do what we're doing, and they have time, but they don't love fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to love fishing to do what we're doing. There's a lot of guys that love fishing and have the knowledge, but you know what? They can make a lot more money doing something else, so they don't have time. So there's like a balance. If you have the ability to have the knowledge, like Scott, my business partner and engineer, like he can make a lot more money doing something completely else. But this is his passion. This is our passion. I've made better money in my life doing something different in my other businesses, but this is my love. This is what we want to settle into. And I think what you're seeing in the tournament wins, that is going behind the scenes in the business. The Bass Tank's doing very well. Our customers are really happy. I mean, I'm proud. My team, I can go in and sit in my office and just look at the team of guys. I'm proud of every single one.
We were talking about that off air on the way down here. I was talking about one of the guys that works here. I was like, dude, that guy like knows his stuff. Like, I mean, I was watching him at the Classic and stuff. And he's like, yeah, he's awesome. I mean, dude, they have like UPS trucks lined up outside of every time I'm there outside of the Bass Tank, and they're like, where's this pallet? And it's just like, it's the amount of stuff that is going through that. And now you guys are about to, I mean, you're expanding as far as having more area to work on.
Yeah, so up until this year, we've been doing our installs kind of out of each other's shops, and we remodeled this year. It was heavy during that 9-inch snowstorm and stuff we had. And so we've got an active shop now in-house where our warehouse is at. And so we're all in-house with each other. We got, more bays, cleaner room. We 100% are growing with our customers and the demand that are there. We were at one point several weeks out, and now we're able to stay on top of that and take care. So all good in the hood there.
I think you see it on Jason Christian. You watch Chris Jones on the Classic stage, and you see it on the NPFL, and you're like, oh, and then this is a big operation, and it is. But what you don't realize is this is new. As far as what, 3.5?
Yeah, we're 3 years.
Okay, 3 years in, and like when you talk to John and Zeke and Scott and Darren and those guys, like they're it. It's not like they've got this massive multi-billion-dollar company warehouse store stuff behind them. They're like that's them. Mm-hmm. Like that's what you're getting. You're dealing with one of those four guys, or one of the guys that John has hired to help try to keep up with the demand of this thing. So you're kind of figuring it out as you go, as far as like, okay, how do we deal with this growth while maintaining the customer service that is initiating the growth?
Oh yeah, we won't get away from customer service. Listen, I mean, I spent 20 years of my life becoming the best tile setter that I knew around. To find out that becoming the best tile setter in the world doesn't mean anything to anybody else. They don't care.
I forgot you did tile. We just did our freaking bathroom, and the tile was...
It's okay. I didn't want the phone call.
It was like 6 feet of tile, and I couldn't even figure out how to get the tile cutter open.
Listen, man, I it's a lot of fighting in the flooring world, man. If you're a flooring guy out there, props to you. We still have the flooring business. That's still how I pay my bills. Obviously, we do big commercial work and stuff like that, and people don't care. They walk all over your work in the flooring, or they literally pee on it because like you're
like the flooring jokes.
Yeah. So the thing about the Bass Tank was this, man. Scott was the same way. Coming from the engineering world, we didn't want to do it unless we were doing it right. Like there is no corner cutting. Like if you call me, which happens all the time, say, well, what can I get away with? Like, well, you're calling the wrong guys. Because who has pride in what can I get away with? Like we're taking pride in what we're doing. We're doing it to perfection. We're overbuilding. We're making sure that you don't break down on the water. It's to protect your day on the water is what the Bass Tank system is all about. Everything we're doing is to make sure we're helping you catch more fish, because that's what's fun, is catching fish. And so if I know that I'm going to cut you a corner to save you $1 and you've gone out and spent $70,000 on your boat, there's just nothing in me that feels like I'm doing the right thing there or enjoying. And that's everybody inside of our company has that to the max. Maybe more than even I do, honestly. Darren especially. His attention to detail.
Oh, you can't go to his shop and have one fix, because then he goes, well, I can make this better, this better, this better, and this better. And then you're like, well, I didn't come in for that. And he's like, no, but now I see it. I have to do it.
So yesterday, just to tell Darren and how his perfectionism is, and I walked in the shop, and he said, hey, John, we're going to have a meeting here in a couple days. And I say, okay, yeah, no, we need to have a shop meeting, about just the shop side of things. he's like, yeah, man, you know, basically I can't have you walking in here whenever you want to, kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking I kind of own the place, but you know, like, but no, when you have somebody with his ability and professionalism, you respect that. Okay,
yeah.
You know what? I'm going to give you your space. You do your thing. You be Darren, because you're the side. That's the side of the bass thing that makes it special. I got to tell you guys one story about our little all-star that's going on here. Little Austin Odell, our second salesman. You know, Zeke was our sales rep. We called him the hype man. We couldn't get to all the phone calls. That was one of the biggest problems that we were having, the phone calls, phone.
Told you.
And so, and, you know, not all of them are sales. A lot of customer service calls, a lot of calls from people that bought from other people wanting, you know, our advice.
Want you to fix it?
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Yeah. And we get in the way of actually real customers. And so it was a real world business problem, right? We have to try to solve it. Phone systems things, connecting in with everything, software and all that stuff. It's not as simple as what people really.
Is that called logistics?
No, I think logistics shipping, right?
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
I thought I had a business. Continue. Sorry.
So here's the cool thing about Austin. I got to tell the story, Mark. You got to let me tell this story.
All right.
It's anything I want to talk about
anything
today.
you want to talk about, man.
So 2007.
Wow, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I hadn't fished since I was 17 years old. My first word was fish. All I did my whole life was play with fishing lures, read Roland Martin's 101 Bass Catching Secrets.
Didn't your dad raise fish?
We raised fish. We had a fish farm. I caught fish. If I wasn't catching with my hand at my pole, I was catching koi, you know, $1,000 koi with my hands, and you know, getting yelled at. Where you know, my dad was very high pressure on things. So, you know, fishing was my passion, my love. But I got married young with not a pot to pee in, right? You know, so it was all about business from 19 years old to about 27, and I got, you know, in the flooring world, the blood, sweat, and tears. I got to the point where I actually ran into Dale Roden, who fished the Bass Nation, and he was one of my builders in Stillwater. And I remember he had a Ranger hat, and I wasn't fishing, and he was explaining to me kind of how to do my job as a tile setter, because he just freshly hired me and just fired. And I said, hey, man, how about I just do the best job you've ever seen, and then afterward you thank me by taking you out in the Ranger. And he said, oh, yeah, you're a fisherman, huh? And this is the quote, man. I said, yeah. I said, I'm a closet pro. One of these days I'll come out. And he introduced me to the Bass Nation, where I could fish as a co-angler.
Yeah.
And so my first year as a co-angler at the Bass Nation, I won and went to the Bass Nation National Championship. It's where I met Jacopo Guleli and all this.
That's before you went as a co-angler. You just went to the Bass Nation representing Oklahoma. Everyone was on the equal playing field.
Right. You as a co-angler, you fish against the boaters and that thing. So Dale Hightower was in there. You know, there's some guys that were, you know, locally that were Jared Miller, Pangrac, you know, all these. So I started wanting to fish. I don't have a boat yet, by the way. So my first tournament as a boater was at the Bass Nation National Championship. Period. So I go to the local jackpot, which is the Cushing Lake, which is 3 miles down the road, and I'm sitting on the bench with my fishing pole. And I'm hoping that someone will pull up and not have a partner, and I can make a friend, you know? And so all these guys are pulling in with their big boats, and, you know, there's probably about 10 or 12 boats, nice boats. You know, there's some guys without a partner, and I think they know what's going on, so they're kind of looking away from me. You know, I'm looking homeless on the bench right by the ramp, like I'm scooting a little bit closer with my pole, like, someone give me some attention. And all of a sudden, the last one that comes in is this 17-foot beat-up truck, you know, with, you know, my kind of people, right, that I came from. And it's a father-son. And they say, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, well, I was kind of hoping I could fish with somebody. He's like, well, he said, you can fish with us. I said, well, no, I can't. Give me a tiny, tiny little boat. And they said, yeah, just go pay your entry fee and we'll let you fish out the back of the boat. So that's what I did. I went paid the entry fee. I was my own team, and they were on their own team. So this little boy, who was 10 years old at the time, his name's Austin. And his dad, Kenny, lets me get in the boat, and I'm standing next to Austin. We're flipping, we're fishing. Austin's just right up against my leg. And I was, you know, younger and in shape and all that. And I said, yeah, they just met me, by the way. I I looked down at Austin. He looks up at me, and I said, that's right after I got out of prison for killing that man. And Austin's eyes got about this big, and Kenny turns and he says, see, son, men can change. You know, like that. I'm just having no kids. So, and I mean, honestly, since that moment in time, we've been family. Like, when I started doing the youth thing for the Bass Nation in Oklahoma, Austin was one of the kids that was on my mind, and he got a part of that, and he was a part of my club. And so, you know, Brock and Meyer and all these guys that are still all these guys that are still in the fishing industry were some of my kids that I helped be a part of. And so I spent a lot of time. I think I did that for 4 to 7 years of doing that youth thing. And Austin's he's just an amazing human being, right? At 18 years old, he's got a job in a power plant took over his dad's position, basically, that his dad had raised him his entire life doing. And so now I think he's around 23. So, you don't think that a 23-year-old has 5 years of professional. You just don't. But that's how he is as a person. And when the bass tank grew, I knew immediately, like, that's when we get to the point. So I went to Austin one day and said, Austin, man, I got an opportunity for you. Come join the bass tank, and, you're going to rub shoulders with some of the best people in the industry, which he did. He's at the Classics and at his little booth sitting right next to Jason Christie and, the Garmin guys. And he jumped on, and this guy he's dedicated. His whole life is dedicated to his job, his profession. I'm getting these amazing reviews from customers about how well he's taking care of our customers. And so that's what we have inside the bass tank. There's a group of us that have history together. We got a lot of history together, and that's where you feel that camaraderie. I don't know your basketball teams that have been together since when they're freshmen and then they're seniors. It's way different than putting a bunch of all-stars together that never knew each other.
100%.
And that's what we got.
You got to get them in office. That you can't have a glowing review. You've got them on a fold-out table and a rotary phone.
Well, he gets about this much space on his table, and then I got my trophies, and I got my 10.5 and 11 pounders sitting there
in the corner there on the landline talking to people when I come in.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's how we've done it. He's like,
Yeah. That's a great story.
I did not realize that's how you met Austin.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
That's why John does that now.
That's good
with a
stuff.
bunch of with the other kids. If there's a kid sitting at the ramp, or if there's someone that needs to get into it, John will take them under their wing.
It's great stuff. All right, now, future-wise, there's a few things in the works that is going to help people from a electronic standpoint with some of the things that Matt and John, and we're kind of working on some things to get the word out to more people utilizing this platform that we have in BTL. So that's in the works.
Can we go to lunch after this to talk about that more?
Yeah.
You good on that, John?
Yeah.
You got time?
You said food, right?
I said food.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do that. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, John. We want you to be part of the marathon show, too. You don't have to come down here for that. We can do it remote, but cool. Just pick a time slot, man. We won't put you at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? No, we'll get that dialed in. So let's take a quick break, come back, wrap things up. Great segment with John. If you didn't catch the full thing, definitely need to go back and listen to the replay on that. So we'll take a quick break, come back. Matt and I will wrap things up here on a Wednesday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
You've been waiting all week for this, and Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
Oh, it's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duck It Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action as a crankbait, especially like the square bill, IDT6, Those medium running crankbaits in the springtime, when those fishers mount, they're pretty tough. That's when I'm really, really, really on top of having my actions just perfect.
Guys, what makes our Spro lures beat the competition?
I mean, you have to admit, we nailed it with my McSticks and rock crawlers.
Man, we've all won money on my plugs.
My Wymick shop put fish in my boat. One thing's for sure, we all count on our Spro lures to beat the competition.
Designing cutting-edge baits with some of America's top anglers. Spro lures beat the competition. To see the entire lineup, visit a retailer near you or spro.com.
The Ned rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length, great Ned rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out, Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
All right, we are back, wrapping up a Wednesday. Great guest in studio today. And if you missed that, definitely need to go back. Some nuggets of knowledge.
Really good stuff, John.
On that stuff.
Always has known his stuff, and now other people are just learning what a lot of people in Oklahoma have already known. He did really well in the BFLs for a couple years whenever he takes it seriously. It's when he's worried about the flooring company and worried about the other, because I've also fished tournaments like that with him where he's like has big projects going on and stuff, and quite frankly, you suck when you're like that. When you have to be like when he's all in, he's pretty much unbeatable. But that's what I'm saying. That's like our saving grace is like when he fished a lot of local stuff against us, he had so much stuff on his plate that he wasn't able to 100% focus on it. Does that make sense, Mark?
Oh yeah.
So therefore, he was beatable. I don't think he's beatable anymore. That's the problem. Dude, did you see this thing that someone just sent me the link to it? It's on Wade's site, the collegiate.
I saw that.
Bass fishing.
Got hit by lightning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's okay, it appears. I mean, like, dude, that's a great article. They were practicing for Lay Lake. It starts raining. We start taking off down the lake. We're running around 60 miles an hour, something like that. Then it starts raining. So I duck down. Next thing I know, I see this bolt of lightning right in my face. It either had to hit Trevor's shoulder, Trevor's seat, maybe the pole in the back of the boat, but it's just right there. And it went through the driver's chair of his boat. I guess he went and got checked out.
Yeah. The EMTs were there upon arrival.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Yeah. I don't mess around with that. I have never messed around with that. I don't care what it is, what tournament situation it is. If I feel as though lightning strike is possible, I'm out of there.
This is pretty funny. The studio cam, did you like that? If I could get the audio thing, I've got an idea to get it worked out. In other words, we can use the phone, but I've got another camera that we're actually going to try it out.
Okay, you used to have one mounted on this before everything fried.
Yeah, that was something else. But somebody sent me a message. They were like, "Hey man, take the studio camera. We want to see the drill press." Well, number one, it's not a drill press.
You want me to take it over there? I'll take it over there.
Well, no. Here, you stay and do commentary, and I'll walk over. I'll walk over there.
Oh, you have to turn the lights on. You guys are about to get a Jeffrey's bowling studio.
No. Just 2 seconds.
Don't show what's on that wall. You're going to get inundated with emails for discontinued baits. Seriously, though. Unless you want to answer 100 emails of people offering to buy you baits.
Let's see if I can do this.
All right.
So you're going to have to do the audio, though. No.
That's Jeffrey's fake plant.
Here.
This is kind of Blair Witchy.
There it is.
That's the bowling drill press. So Jeffries has gotten to the point now where he can drill his balls with minimal effort.
And then look at that. That's the arsenal, right?
He's very proud of that. He can just call that his arsenal. Those are all bowling balls. I believe there's 3 bowling balls. 3 or 4?
What?
In each of those.
3.
There's 3. So he's got roughly 60 or 70 bowling balls. Go show him your little desk of experimentation.
Oh, over here. Yes.
He's into the bowling ball stuff, so that's where he drills the holes and then fits the thumb holes. And he was off. What were you off, like a 64th of an inch on your angle the other day? And you said, "Oh, I can totally feel it." But
yeah.
Hey.
All right, so there you have it. It's not a drill press; it's a mill.
A mill. How many mills are there in Oklahoma, Jeffries, that are set up like that?
Not very many.
Would you say less than 10?
Oh yeah.
How many of them are in bowling centers? All of them?
Yeah, pro shops. Definitely. Anyway, so somebody.
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to see
JD
that.
said, where the heck is his bowling ball? You still owe him that bowling ball.
I haven't got that yet, dude.
How have you not gotten it? He came here a year ago.
Listen to me. Because of the production, they don't have enough people to work, dude. So I actually sent an email to my contact. I have 4 bowling balls that are supposed to be here this week. Oh, no.
Why not?
Dude, that's my arsenal. I can't do that. You know how long it took me to find those? A lot of those, they're not even made anymore.
They're like green Curados?
I told you, I have 3 bowling balls over there that I could probably sell for $1,200.
Total, though.
Total, yeah.
So they're way, way, way cheaper than fishing stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes.
Can you break one? Like, what would happen if you took one out on the cement and just chucked it?
It would break.
It would?
You can. They do crack out.
Have you ever seen one, like, break apart in the lanes?
No. They do crack out if you leave them in your
like
trunk.
Hitting the cover off the ball.
Go from heat to cold, back to heat, back to cold. Yeah,
JD said he wants his bowling ball. He said he's just pulling your chain.
I'm going to get you covered when they get here. I can't
You
get
got to
them to
take
you
care of
unless they
JD.
get- I know,
JD's taking
man.
care of that. He's got the Denali's and the Falcons in the store. He's got the BFEs.
Yeah.
My parents went and visited JD in Illinois at his shop. Did you know that?
Yeah. All right, here's the other thing we're going to do today. Besides go to lunch with John, Matt and I are going to set the date for the marathon show.
That sounds good to me.
All right, we are going to set the date. I will tell you this. It's going to be after the 4th of July and before Matt hits the road for New York.
Yep.
All right, and we're working on it. We will have the date tomorrow on day 4 with Frank Scalish. And Frank's going to talk a little bit about tidal water tomorrow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm an expert on that now.
That's a result of...
Fan request?
Yeah. Wanting him to talk about tidal water. So, and maybe a little bit of swim jig. The swim jig, the new swim jig, that Chris Jones used, he may not be able to talk about that because it's not out yet.
Oh.
So he wanted to save that. But very, very cool swim jig coming out too.
I'm convinced the uglier it is, the better it works.
What?
The swim jigs.
Really?
Remember when I insulted Bill Lowen about it? Where you were there, I think you might have been out.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't out. I called Bill Lowen's swim jig fluffy. I may have called Steve Kennedy's swim jig beat up.
Oh my gosh. Making enemies, dude.
I'm just saying
Yeah. Anyway.
The swim jig's an odd bait.
Yeah. So day tomorrow, we'll let you know on day 4 for the marathon show. 24 hours of BTL for the first time in history. A bass fishing podcast going 24 consecutive hours. We're going to do it right here at BTL. All right, folks, that's going to wrap things up. Thanks again to John for coming down and being in studio with some juice to pass on to the fans. Great stuff. And Matt, we'll do day 4 tomorrow, man.
Sounds good, Mark.
All right, that's it, everybody. We're out of here.